we're going to start in child's pose. I'm not sure exactly why I've crossed my legs. And I'm just going to have the knees fairly close together if you can. Remember, you can use the block underneath if your knees are a little bit tight, and you can actually straddle if you have a bolster or a rolled up blanket or rolled up mat. You can actually use that and just lie down on top of that, which is quite a nice way. If you're using the bolster underneath, what it does is it allows the spine to be a little bit flatter, and so you're not sort of curving into it. And it's a more restorative beginning for the class, but whatever kind of works for you. I'll be here for a few minutes, just breathing in and out softly, and just trying to, work out what the body feels like, what the brain feels like. And slowing the breath down. And then we'll slowly let ourselves lift up. Now I'm going to sit on the block and bring the soles of my feet together to move into a butterfly pose. So the idea of this is to try and let these groins open out and the knees sink down. So once you've got your feet out in front, you choose how close or far away you want them to be. Let it be instinctive. Lay soft is just rock from side to side, so you release the muscles on the sitting bones. And then bring the hands onto the shins and let yourself roll down with a fairly rounded spine. So the head comes down last. So there's a little bit of control dropping it down. Now in terms of where you take the hands, you can just take them out to the sides. You can have them a little bit forwards. Some people like to bring their hands underneath the legs and just have the forearms down on the floor and the elbows on the ground. Obviously that depends if that's within reach for you. Some people like to hold the feet together with their hands. But whatever works for you. It's a little difficult to breathe into the belly, so make use of the side ribs, the back of the shoulders. Really try and let the back of the neck loosen off, especially if you've been working on computers all day long. You'll find that the neck sort of goes to a certain point, and actually you've got more flexion in there, but you've got tight in this one position. So you really need to let the body sink into it. Excuse me. I could feel that sneeze coming off from nowhere. Again, we're sitting in this pose for a few minutes and trying to let the shoulders relax, which might mean you need to move them around and try a few positions.
And letting yourself create a mind-body connection with the groins, the muscles around the hips, back of the legs. And see if you can just let them rotate out to the sides. We're going to gently use the hands to lift ourselves back up. And we'll use the hands underneath the thighs just to draw them out, from the legs out, give them a little bit of a stretch. And then we're going to cross the legs at the shins. So the feet again are wide and quite a long way from the body. And we're just going to lift a little bit to one side, roll the thigh around, do the same on the opposite side. Just getting a little bit of lift and an extra bit of rotation in. And then sitting up tall, we'll drop the chin in towards the chest. We'll take some neck circles, just half. So we'll draw the chin across to the left shoulder. Let the eyes level out. And then drawing the eyes back down to the floor, into the center of the mat, and lifting across to the other side. So try to keep the spine nice and long. Allow the shoulders to draw back a little bit. Move across to the other side. And then down again. Move over to the right. And down to the center. Final time to the left. And the final time to the right. So really slow, exaggerated movements. We'll bring the chin back, center of the body. Let the arms float out nice and wide, and we're going to bring that left arm across the chest. Just give it a little bit of a lock. So draw the shoulder round, fraction, breathe into the back of the shoulder blades. And we'll release. And we'll take it across to the second side. And we'll release there. Untangle the legs. We're going to come into saddle pose. So just give the back of the legs a little bit of a rub. And then, for me, I know that I can sit on a brick in the sitting bones and bring my knees together and feet out wide, and I'm just in the right place. But sometimes you might need to be a little higher. You might be able to get lower. You might need to take a little bit of time to try several positions. Not a problem. Sit up nice and tall. Let the shoulders roll out. And then we're going to take the arms out wide. This time we're going to bring that right arm across and the left arm over the top. Bending at the elbows, we bring that hands together or find the thumbs and just drop the elbows down towards the chest and roll the shoulders back. So trying to release the shoulders towards the back of the mat.
rather than fostering energy and trying to pull and retract. It's about letting the muscles go. Came in the wrong way. So releasing, dropping, letting go. And release the hands out. Cross them over the opposite way. Coming to the second side. Now, obviously, it's going to feel different at the beginning to the end. Brace for that. Slowly release the arms out. Hands to the side, onto the thighs. And just roll the shoulders around a couple of times each way. Nice slow movements. The whole of the spine join in. The inflection and the extension through the spine, as well as moving the shoulders around. And then we can settle. So the reason for the strap is that we're going to take that cow face on. So allow yourself to have your buckle end into your right hand, and then take that towards the sky. Let the strap come behind. And as you lift your hand up towards the sky, just take the opposite hand, place it underneath the back of the tricep, bend the elbow, and ease that hand down past the neck towards the shoulders. And then the opposite hand, left hand, you're going to take that out in front, turn the thumb down so the palm's out, and very slowly bring that round towards the back of the mat. And then we're going to feed that hand back in so the palm is facing out. Start to bend the elbow, find the strap, and let the fingers walk up. Again, we try and let those shoulders relax back and the ribs down. The more we slow down that movement of the left arm, taking it around to the back, the more deliberate that movement is, the easier it is for the muscles to reciprocate and open up gently for us. So if you move into it too quick, sometimes you can find you get yourself stuck a little bit. So taking time has its benefits. And we'll release both hands.
One hand up, one hand down. Bring the strap across the front of your body. Bring that buckle into the opposite hand. Allow that arm to lift up. Again, just supporting the tricep. As you drop your hand down the back, you can kind of lift the tricep up a little bit just to ease that hand into position. And then when you're ready, you take the right hand out, turn the thumb down, and again, just slowly moving around. And then bringing the hand in towards the body, finding the strap, walking the hand up. And trying to judge where is a good place for you to move to, and then be comfortable and hold there. If you overwork it, you'll just tighten the muscles up in the shoulders, move away from the direction we want, which is a stretch and a little bit of softness. It's almost the fact that we're geared to be competitive. We're taught no pain, no gain from a very early age, and so we try our best to get into these positions, and it's not really about what it looks like, it's really about how it feels in your body, and accepting that one side of your body is never going to be the same as the other. So we adapt, make the practice our own. We change the rules. And we're going to slowly release from here. And we can bring the strap out to the side. I'm going to lift up just enough to move the brick out from underneath me and then bring the heels underneath. Sitting back, we're going to lift the knees away from the floor. So the fingertips come back just to give me a little bit of support. And then stretch the top of the foot and the ankles out. So you want to try and get your heels as much as possible to be touching the sitting bones. If they're coming into the center a bit too much or moving out to the side, that won't necessarily be good for the ankles. It does put a lot of pressure on the bones of the feet, so we are moving tendons and ligaments around whilst we're in this position, as well as stretching them, so making the foot more mobile. And then we'll ease the knees down to the floor. As you come along, we're going to take that flat block and just bring that behind the toes. And we're going to come into a squat using the block to rest the heels. So it's going to lift up slowly. Stretch the legs out one at a time. Take a little time to press out through the legs. It's just getting the blood flow back in. So it can feel a bit strong. I think that's a nice way of putting it when you do that. And then line the feet up with the edges of the mat, of the block rather. Use your hands to just wiggle in. Drop the heels on to the corner edges of the block. Now you can have the toes pointing out if you wish, or you can have the toes pointing forwards. Either way, we're going to rest the arms on top of the knees and just let the chest lift up. So again, we're not really trying to get ourselves into a shape. It's about how easily can we sit down in a squat. Some people can have their heels on the floor, and that's perfectly easy for them. They've got a high level of movement through the ankle joints.
I've got normal but lower normal. So even higher normal would be the difference between whether it's putting the feet on the floor comfortably or not. And there is a kind of a certain release of the buttocks, the glutes and the hamstrings when you sit in this pose for a period of time. You can kind of feel yourself drop. And that's just moving tension out of the body, which is great. Now we're going to let ourselves come back down to the floor. We're going to take a reclined twist. So we're just going to use the hands behind. I'm going to move the block towards the back of the mat. And then I'm using my rather flat and aged bolster, which could be a rolled up blanket or a rolled up mat. And we'll just take the knees high, roll down onto the floor, let the arms come out wide. And then once you arrive, I've got the block on my left side. So I'm going to move my hips out to the right, lengthen the left leg out, use my right foot on top of the thigh, and then turn the body gently over towards the left side. And then see if I can get to a place where I can balance my lower part of my leg, so my ankle, shin, and my knee onto that support. And then I'm going to wriggle the shoulders a little bit around so I can get the shoulders flat to the ground. Sometimes you need that little adjustment. And then if you want to, you can turn the head away from bent knee. And then we should move very gently back out. Use the feet back in, bring the hips more to the center. I'm going to move my trusty bolster. Take the arms out again. Move the hips to the left this time. Right leg lengthens out. Just bring the left foot on top of the thigh and roll the body over. So initially when I come into that, my shoulder is away from the floor. I'm just going to sort that leg out, make sure it's supported, make sure the block is close to being underneath my head. And then I'm just going to wriggle the shoulders around gently to ease that shoulder down a little closer to the floor. And then I'm just going to leave myself to come out of that very gently. And let the knees come in towards the body. I'm going to make some circles with the knees, so placing the hands on top of the kneecaps. Just going to make some slow, big circles. So getting a little bit of a tilt backwards and forwards through the pelvis and opening up those hips even further. And reverse that up. And as the knees come together again, I'm going to roll onto my right side and let myself use my hands to lift slowly back up. Now from there, I'm going to come into a straddle. So I'm going to turn side on to my mat so that my heels are actually on a soft surface rather than on a hard floor. If you've got a carpet, that might be okay. Or if you've got a long blanket, you can put them under each side. But we're going to take the legs out nice and wide. Use the hands behind just to ease ourselves onto the front of the sitting bone. So we're already starting to lean forwards a little bit. We don't worry about how bent the knees are or whether the legs are rolling out. It doesn't matter. You can, if you want to, bring this bolster in front. If you've got a proper strong bolster and you can actually lean into it and adjust, you can bring it in front so you can get your elbows onto here as you lean forwards. You can straddle it across if you can get very low. You can bring some bricks in and build them up, allow your head to come being supported. Either way, whatever you use to come down to, we're going to lean forwards. So I can take the hands out towards my toes. And for me, I can reach my big toe quite easily on my index finger and middle finger, and then rest my elbows onto the shins. And leaning further forwards, taking a breath, and then eventually letting myself drop the head so the spine starts to round a little bit. And trying to let the legs relax. So there's a lot of holding on going on. None of it is intentional. Just my body trying to look after me. So release the hands to the floor. On an exhale, let ourselves lift up. So from the straddle pose, we'll just use the hands underneath the thighs, draw the legs in. If your legs are anything like mine, they kind of go a little bit useless after doing that pose. It takes a while for the movement option to come back in. We're going to come down onto our spines, so we need a little bit of room behind. We're going to take the banana pose. So we'll just lengthen out very gently. Take a little breath. Roll the spine down. I'm going to take the hands above the head and just take hold of my right wrist gently. Ease my shoulders over to the left. Lengthen the legs out down the center line. Keeping the shoulders and the pelvis flat to the floor. Let the left leg draw out to the side and then the right will follow. See how that feels in my spine and my pelvis. All the muscles around that area. Maybe you can cross the ankles over if you wish, or just stay in a more sort of vanilla form where the legs are uncrossed. It's a little easier to monitor keeping the hips and the pelvis flat on the floor. Sometimes that crossing the leg over just tilts the hips up for you unnecessarily. So trying to let the right hip sink down to the floor, even though it wants to go over to the left. We'll begin to bring the legs back into the center. Let the upper body follow. Change over the grasp of the wrist. Wiggle the shoulders over to the right. Taking a few breaths here. And then when you're ready, just moving the legs gently to the right side. Doesn't have to be a big movement. You might find it easier on one side than the other. Option of crossing the ankles over when you feel ready. There's plenty of time. Slowly start to bring ourselves back into the center. Using the hands out to the side, back along the body. And the palms turn up for a moment, let the feet roll out to the sides. Just let the spine be itself, moving into a straight line. So not something that you represent in your mind, but feeling of alignment. If you need to move, you move. But you're doing this with your eyes closed and feeling. And we'll carefully bring the heels towards the bottom. And then let the knees come in. So you can take the hands on top of the kneecaps. I'm just going to stir the knees into some big circles now. I'm taking the knees in the same direction. You might want them to move in different directions. It's your choice. I'm going to reverse that up. And I'm going to finally roll to my right side. Use the hands to gently press myself back up to sitting. Bring the feet towards the back of the mat. I'm going to sort out some bricks by the side and a block close by, just for a little bit later. Come up onto all fours. Now we'll start to move into a cat-cow position. So draw the chest forwards, tilt the pelvis as you exhale, draw the belly in, let the head drop, press into the shins, the hands. Inhale forwards. Exhale. Inhale forwards. And exhaling. Enough room for 2 more breaths. We'll come into a neutral position. Take the knees as wide as the mat. Toes together. We'll sit down onto the heels. Again, remember you can use the blocks underneath if you need to. We're going to take that straight into a side bend over to the left, and then let our body sink down onto that left side. Let the head come down. And on the inhale, we'll lift towards the hands. Walk them across to the other side. Lay that rib into the thigh, head to the ground. Walking the fingers forward so the elbows are off the ground. And then bringing the hands back to the center. Lift up onto all fours. Bring the knees gently underneath, chest forwards. Exhale a couple of rounds of cat-cow. going to come into Sphinx pose. So bring the elbows down, shoulder distance apart and parallel with the forearms. Walk the legs back out, palms down. We're going to draw the belly in, lift the chest up, roll the shoulders out wide. Lengthen the legs away, press the thighs into the floor, the toes roll in, the heels roll out. I'm going to try and lift and grow. And we'll bring the chest down to the floor. Taking the hands out like a press up and come up onto the fingertips, chin to the ground. Roll the shoulders back as you breathe in. On the exhale, press into the floor with your fingertips and let the back muscles lift you up, lengthen the legs away, keep the belly in. Inhale on the way down, so gecko pose. Exhale on the way up. Inhale on the way down. Lifting up. Inhale. Exhale. We've got about another 3 that I think we can fit in. Try and keep those legs connected to the ground. That's 2. And 1. And as you come down, bring the hand underneath the forehead and let yourself shake out the hips a little bit from side to side. And roll onto whichever side you wish. Draw the knees in towards the body. So let yourself lift up. So you still want to have that strap close by. Take a little breath from there. And then roll back down to the floor. So feet wide, knees high, roll down. And we're going to draw left knee in towards the chest, just squeeze that in towards the armpit. Now release on the breath in. Cross over to the other side. Drawing the knee into that opposite armpit. As you inhale, release again. Have the feet close into your bottom and toes, heels touch. You're going to take the strap and we're just going to place that around the ball joints of the right foot. So it kind of crosses over big toe and little toe. And then we'll lengthen the leg out. Now we want to keep a little bit of a bend in the knee. So allow yourself to have the hands quite high and the short strap. And then you're going to draw the shoulders down towards the floor, which is why you want straight arms, because the shoulders are much stronger. And you're going to press the foot into the strap. And you're going to keep the bend in the knee deliberately. So if you straighten out too much, you won't get the benefit of resistance of working against your shoulders with your leg and vice versa. Remember to breathe. Still pressing. And then we're going to release. Whew. And swap over to the opposite foot. Bring the foot down, take a little bit of adjustment. You need to bind the strap around the hands to get a good hold. You can do. And then draw the shoulders down, that little bend in the knee. And then when you're ready, you're going to press in the opposite direction. Last few breaths, keep pushing. The leg will tremble. Last breath. Oh, and then we can release. So we're going to move from there to a bridge pose, but we're going to take the feet almost as wide as the mat. We're going to take the first block, which could be a rolled up blanket or a bolster, and just lift gently and bring the bolster underneath the pelvis so it is not touching my spine. I'm going to then lift again and place another brick underneath. Now I know that I can use a block and 2 bricks and be in a really comfortable place, so it might take a little bit of experimenting to find where you want to be. But it's always a draw the belly in and then press into the feet to lift the hips up slowly. And you make sure that whatever you are going to rest on, that it is all built up and safe. So use your fingertips to make sure that you're squarely putting objects on top of objects, not building a house of cards by accident. And take that last breath, draw the belly in, press into the feet, adjust. And then because the feet are out wide, the knees can rock in a little bit. And we can just let the hands come by the side. Move the shoulders around till they feel comfortable. This is a restorative pose. We're taking the support of the bricks and trying to let the muscles in the lower back and the glutes soften off. And then that, in respect of the hip flexors, will create the same proposition. They should just start to loosen off a little bit. Takes a little while for the body to start to trust and get used, but we'll be here for a couple of minutes. And we are going to need to come out of this. So the idea of having multiple props is that we can come down a level at a time. So we can draw the belly muscles in a little bit, keep the chin and the eyes looking up towards the ceiling, press into the feet. You're going to lift just enough to slide your first prop out, assuming that you've got more than one, and then rolling the spine gently back down. Again, just using the fingers to make sure your prop is going to be in a safe place. And we're lying on the pelvis, the back of the sacrum. And then we're going to do that again. We're just drawing the belly in. I've got 3 props. You might have 1 or 2. You use as many lifts as you need. Taking the next layer out, bringing that down again. Just taking my time. The floor always feels a lot further away than it used to be. And just giving a little time for the spine to settle, a couple of breaths. And then press into the floor, drawing the belly the last time. Going to roll the spine easily down towards the ground. And then very gently just use the toes to crawl the feet further forwards until you get to a point where that's not possible to do that anymore. And then see if you can slide one heel out at a time. Nice and gently, and the other leg. And just letting the toes roll out. I'm going to bring the right hand onto the lower belly underneath the belly button, and the left hand sort of on the beginning of the ribs in that V section. And just make sure the jaw is nice and soft, eyes closed gently. And slow the breath down. Let it begin in the belly as a gentle rise and fall. So we'll slowly start to move those wrists and ankles, fingers and toes. Take some longer breaths into the upper part of the chest. Use the energy to stretch out in any way that feels good. And then when you're ready, we're just going to draw the knees in carefully. Taking a suitable hug or rock or stir, or just being still, wherever it feels good. Roll ourselves over to the right side and stay there. Knees drawn in, head tucked under. And then finally using the hands to press into the floor. We can roll up and around into a sitting posture. Lengthening of the spine, and then bring the hands in towards the heart. Take a deeper breath in. As you begin to exhale, let the chin drop. Draw the belly in, spine bows down to the floor to seal your practice for the evening. With the inhale, we lift up. Open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.